When Jamie received Cole's text, the one that casually announced the guest list for his big welcome home party was locked in, and that space was tight, it landed like a gut punch, not just because of the words, but because of who they came from. Cole, Jamie's younger brother, fresh off a 2-year deployment, the same brother Jamie had supported relentlessly, was throwing a massive reunion, and Jamie wasn't invited. At first, Jamie waited, thumb hovering over the screen, expecting the follow-up message. Just kidding, of course you're coming. But it never came. Instead, Jamie was left staring at a void, filled only with the echo of late-night calls where they'd coached Cole through basic training breakdowns, care packages mailed with handwritten notes, and beef jerky. Surprise calls with his fiancée Sky that Jamie had secretly arranged. All of it now erased with 3 words: hope you get it. Needing clarity, Jamie called their father, who had been hyping the party for weeks, only to hear a tired sigh and the brush off. It's just a reunion, don't blow it out of proportion. Jamie's voice trembled, not with weakness, but with disbelief. I'm his sibling. I helped plan this party. How do I not make the cut? The response was silence, followed by excuses, venue limits, last-minute RSVPs, nothing personal. But Jamie had seen Cole's social post. Over 100 guests tagged, beer kegs in the background, laughter, celebration. Not personal? No, this was personal. This was betrayal cloaked in polite indifference. Jamie's pulse pounded as they stood in the quiet of their living room, memories flashing like cruel reminders. Editing Cole's enlistment essay late into the night, wiring him emergency cash when his truck broke down, driving 2 hours without complaint after his DUI to save him from arrest. They were the glue, the fixer, the one who made everyone else's chaos disappear, and now they were being treated like a +1 that didn't make the cut. But Jamie didn't cry. Instead, they booked a ski trip, not out of spite, but as a quiet declaration. I will no longer beg to belong where I'm not valued. When the party weekend came, and the family's phones lit up with Jamie's picturesque mountain posts, fresh powder, hot cocoa, strangers who laughed with real warmth, it was a silent thunderclap. They didn't respond to Dad's calls, ignored Sky's awkward, wish you were here text, and let the silence speak louder than any confrontation ever could. Because this wasn't about a single night. It was about every moment Jamie had poured into people who only saw them as convenient. And now? Jamie wasn't angry. They were awake. They'd spent years being loyal, helpful, the family's emotional scaffolding. But scaffolding gets removed once the structure stands. So they stepped away, quietly, permanently, leaving behind the role they'd been assigned and choosing something far more powerful, a life built around people who see them, not as filler on a guest list, but as the guest of honor in their own story. Jamie had spent weeks perfecting every detail of Cole's welcome home flyers, tweaking colors, adjusting layout, and obsessing over fonts because Sky wanted it flawless. And for what? A cold text citing space constraints, followed by Dad brushing it off like Jamie was whining about a missed movie night. The dismissal stung, but what came next burned. The next morning, at Brew Haven, Jamie stood in line, still aching from the night before, when 2 cousins, Liv and Zane, unintentionally drove the dagger deeper. Their voices cut through the espresso machine's hum, Liv gushing about how epic the party would be, and Zane smirking. Guess Jamie must have pissed him off, huh? Not even invited. Liv laughed, sharp and dismissive. Right? Kinda sad, honestly. The words landed like a slap. Coffee splashed over Jamie's hand. The barista called their name, but everything else blurred. They weren't some estranged third cousin. Jamie was his sibling, the one who had shown up again and again. Heads turned toward the exit as Jamie walked out stiffly, cheeks burning with shame. But that shame quickly transformed into something hotter, fury laced with a final clarity. By the time they got home, memories were storming in fast. Forgotten birthdays, sudden cancellations, calls that only came when Cole needed something. Jamie had always said yes, always forgave, always listened to Dad's condescending, be the bigger person speeches like their feelings were some inconvenient detour to be tolerated. The gossip at the cafe wasn't just cruel, it confirmed what Jamie had refused to admit. This wasn't a one-off oversight. It was a message. Jamie didn't matter. Not enough to invite. Not enough to explain. Not enough to respect. They stared at their phone, thumb hovering over Dad's contact, tempted to release years of swallowed rage. But what would be the point? Dad would sigh. Cole wouldn't answer, and Jamie would be left screaming into the same void. So instead, something in them snapped. With a breath of icy resolve, they deleted the number and opened a travel app. If they weren't worthy of a seat at the family's biggest celebration, then they sure as hell weren't sticking around to beg for scraps. Scrolling through options, each destination felt like freedom knocking. Hawaii? Too far. Sky, ironically, too crowded. Then Colorado blinked back at them. Breckenridge with snow-dusted peaks and private cabins that promised serenity, and something better than pity. Perfect. Cole's party was Saturday? Good. Jamie would be flying first class Friday night, sipping cocoa in a slopeside cabin with a private hot tub, and lift tickets that cost more than Cole's bar tab. They booked it all without blinking. Every dollar spent was a declaration. I am done being the family afterthought. They called in vacation time. Approved instantly. Packed methodically. Snow boots. Thermals. The puffy jacket bought for a trip that never happened, now finally getting its moment. Each item tossed into the suitcase was its own rebellion. A layered goodbye to the role they'd been typecast in. The reliable, invisible one. Thursday night, unable to sleep, adrenaline buzzing, Jamie sat at their desk sketching the silhouette of jagged peaks against firelight, fuel for a future post that would say everything without saying a word. Then came the ping, a text from Mom. Heard you're upset about the party. No apology. No ownership. Just another reminder that in this family, Jamie's pain was always a problem to be smoothed over, not addressed. They didn't respond. Instead, they zipped the suitcase, shut off the phone, and let the silence carry their message. This wasn't an escape. It was an emergence. And while Cole played host to 100 smiling faces, Jamie would be carving clean lines through mountain snow, reclaiming joy, dignity, and the one thing the family never gave them, permission to matter. Just come anyway, Dad had said, brushing off the exclusion like it was a spilled drink, a minor mess Jamie could wipe up and forget. But Jamie wasn't interested in pity invites or patchwork apologies. They didn't reply, just kept sketching, the pencil digging deeper into the page, lines sharp with fury. Then came Cole's message. Dude, you're not seriously mad, are you? It's just a party. Just a party. The same dismissive refrain, now echoing from both father and brother, pushed Jamie over the edge. They slammed the pencil down, opened their laptop, and without hesitation upgraded the entire trip. First-class flights, a private ski instructor, the works. If they were being cast aside, they'd turn the snub into a declaration. Friday morning arrived, and Jamie stood by the door, coffee in hand, suitcase packed, staring out the window while Cole's friends probably strung streamers and stocked beer coolers. They opened Instagram and cued a perfectly timed post, a cryptic caption reading, When you don't make the list, you make your own plans, scheduled to go live mid-flight. No warnings, no preambles. Let the family feel the sting after Jamie was already gone. When the cab honked, Jamie grabbed their bag with a smirk. This wasn't running away. This was reinvention. Cole could have his party, Dad his excuses, but Jamie was rewriting the narrative, one boarding pass at a time. The Denver air greeted them like a cold, clean truth as they stepped off the plane, the flight itself a dream of legroom, bourbon, and warm towels, luxuries Jamie had never let themselves indulge in until now. The post went live over the clouds, a silent strike, a photo of Jamie with the airplane window framing endless sky. No tags, no explanations, just calm defiance. By the time they landed, their phone was buzzing like a beehive. Messages, missed calls. But Jamie let it buzz. Outside the terminal, a sleek shuttle marked Breckenridge Lodge waited, and the driver, a weathered man with a kind smile, tossed Jamie's suitcase into the back. "First time skiing here?" he asked. Jamie just smiled, leaning back in the seat as the Rockies rose ahead like a promise. "Yeah, needed a change of pace." The ride wound through pine-studded hills and into a winter postcard. The lodge, with its timber beams and roaring fireplace, looked like something out of a dream. At check-in, a woman named Nina handed Jamie a steaming mug of mulled wine and their room key with a cheerful, "Slopeside cabin, just like you booked. Lifts are 50 yards from your door. Enjoy." And they would. The cabin was stunning. Flannel blankets piled high, a fireplace dancing with warmth, and windows that looked out on a sky streaked pink and gold. Jamie dropped their suitcase, popped open the wine, and stepped onto the private deck. The cold bit their cheeks, but the view took their breath away. They eased into a cushioned chair by the fire, pulled out their phone, and checked the post. Comments were already rolling in. Cousin Nina, the cool one, dropping a fire emoji and "Living your best life, I see." A college buddy wrote, "Bro, where's my invite?" Even Uncle Mike, the family wild card, chimed in with, "Savage move, kid. Should have ditched them years ago." Jamie chuckled, the sound light and real. This wasn't about revenge for a party. This was about choosing peace over performance, self-worth over smallness. While Cole basked in surface-level cheers and Dad played diplomat to a party Jamie never asked for, Jamie found something better. A quiet fire, a mountain sky, and the first taste of freedom from a role they never agreed to play. Jamie grinned into their wine, savoring the warmth and the quiet, letting the petty thrill of sweet escape settle deep in their bones, until Dad's text crashed in like a bad chorus. "You're being selfish, Jamie. This is Cole's night." Selfish? After being sliced from the guest list like an afterthought? They didn't dignify it with a reply. Then came Mom, the ever-placater. "Please don't make this a thing." But it was already a thing, and for once Jamie was the one calling the shots. Saturday morning, while the family back home cracked open cheap beer and gave awkward toasts, Jamie was standing at the base of a snowy mountain, strapping on skis for their very first lesson. Their instructor, Sam, a wiry guy with a sunburned nose and laid-back grin, coached them with calm commands. Knees bent, poles loose, don't fight the hill. The first run was gentle, a green slope that felt like flying once Jamie found their balance, the wind slicing past, snow dancing in their wake. For the first time in days, Jamie's mind cleared. No guilt, no exclusion, just motion and breath and that heady rush of doing something just for them. By noon, they were carving turns like a natural, Sam whooping from behind, "You were born for this." Jamie laughed, snapped a photo from the lift, boots dangling, peaks endless, and posted it with a smirk. Powder beats pity any day. Back at the cabin, they traded skis for the hot tub, sinking into the bubbles as snowflakes melted on their skin. Their phone buzzed endlessly from the deck, but Jamie let it sit, untouched, while the mountain glowed under floodlights. Every ripple in that tub, every moment of silence, was earned. That night they found their way to the lodge bar, a cozy haven of worn wood, soft lights, and a guitarist playing something slow and sweet. Perched at the counter, Jamie ordered a whiskey neat and let the burn warm them from the inside. A couple nearby, tourists from Seattle, struck up a conversation. "What brings you out solo?" the woman asked. Jamie raised a brow, then smirked. "Family reunion I wasn't invited to. Figured I'd upgrade." The man laughed, clinking glasses. "Here's to better company." And just like that, Jamie felt it. That flicker of pride, of rising, of choosing themselves. Sunday dawned bright and sharp, snow blinding under a crisp blue sky. Jamie hit the slopes again, this time braving a blue run. It was steeper, faster, and their thighs screamed with every turn. But they made it, laughing through the breathless thrill. Halfway down, the phone buzzed hard in their jacket, persistent enough to warrant a check. A message from cousin Nina. Not the lodge clerk, but the cool one. "You're missing a shit show. Call me if you want the tea." Jamie pocketed the phone, grinning, finishing the run with a spray of snow and a shaky stop. Back at the cabin, coffee in hand, feet up by the fire, they finally called. Nina answered on the first ring, whispering like she was hiding in a coat closet. "Okay, you're gonna love this," she said. "Cole's party? Total disaster." Jamie leaned in, coffee forgotten. "Spill." Sky caught him flirting with his high school ex, right in front of everyone. She lost it, threw her drink, screamed, stormed out. Then Cole, drunk as hell, tried to defend himself, ended up punching a wall and breaking his hand. Dad's pissed, Mom's crying, and Cole's blaming everyone but himself. It's a circus. Jamie blinked, stunned, then let out a slow, disbelieving laugh. "He broke his hand?" "Yup," Nina said, laughing too. "Hospital visit and everything. Classic Cole meltdown." Jamie shook their head, staring into the fire as the image played out. Cole's big night, his triumphant return, the party that excluded the one person who had always had his back, had imploded without Jamie even being there. And somehow, that made it better. They grabbed their phone, stepped out onto the snowy deck, and snapped a photo of the hot tub steaming against the twilight sky. Then, with a smile tugging at their lips, they posted it. "Guess I picked the right weekend to bounce." No need for confrontation. The universe had already handled the receipts. The likes on Jamie's post poured in like confetti. Laughing emojis, applause, even a "You're my hero" from a forgotten high school friend. But Jamie didn't stick around to soak in the digital glory. Instead, they stepped onto the deck, the sharp mountain air biting their cheeks, and inhaled deeply. This wasn't just a getaway. It was a declaration. While Cole basked in the wreckage of his self-celebration and Dad recycled his tired lectures, Jamie had found something far more valuable: silence, snow, and self-respect. And they weren't done yet. Sunday morning arrived with golden light slicing through the blinds, crisp and clear like the universe giving them a high five. Muscles sore but spirit light, Jamie padded into the kitchenette, letting the coffee maker hum while yesterday's revelations replayed. Sky's meltdown, Cole's shattered hand, and a family party imploding like a bad sitcom finale. With a steaming mug in hand, they stepped outside, staring out at the majestic, indifferent mountain. Let them spiral, Jamie thought, smirking. Back inside, curiosity itched. They'd muted notifications after Nina's chaotic play-by-play, but now it was time for a peek. One glance at their phone told the story. Hundreds of likes on Guess I Picked the Right Weekend to Bounce, friends calling them a legend, co-workers cheering them on, and then, of course, the family flood. Mom, did Jamie call me? It's a mess here. Dad, this isn't funny anymore. Cole's hurt. Cole himself. Dude, where are you? Shit hit the fan last night. Jamie raised an eyebrow, already sipping coffee when the next gem landed. Cole again. This wouldn't have happened if you were here to calm me down. Thanks for nothing. The audacity made Jamie laugh out loud, sharp and disbelieving. Calm him down? The same Cole who didn't think Jamie deserved a seat at the party. As if Jamie was some emotional service sibling, summoned only to diffuse his self-destruction. Then Dad chimed in. You abandoned us when we needed you most. Hope you're happy. Happy? Jamie was ecstatic. The very family who had cast them aside was now crying out for their guidance, their presence, like the spare tire they always expected to be ready, inflated and silent. Jamie set the mug down with a hard clink, coffee sloshing onto the wood, shaking their head. The phone buzzed again. This time it was Sky. Jamie? I don't know what to do. Cole's a mess. Please call. The same Sky who had gushed over Jamie's help planning the engagement call, then said nothing when they were sliced from the guest list. Now she wanted a lifeline. Jamie scoffed, scrolling back through the messages, piecing together the gaps, ready to savor the wreckage in full. They called Nina, who answered with the same conspiratorial glee she always had when family drama hit its peak. Oh, you're in for it now, she whispered. Where did we leave off? Jamie leaned against the icy railing, a grin tugging at their lips. Cole's hand. Keep going. Nina launched into the disaster like a seasoned war correspondent. Okay, so after Sky bolted, Cole started screaming at Dad, blamed him for inviting the ex. Dad lost it, called him ungrateful, and it turned into this shouting match from hell. Then Cole, drunk and red-faced, punches the wall like a maniac, cracks his knuckles, starts howling like he's been shot. Jamie could see it, clear as day. Streamers drooping, guests frozen in awkward horror, beer puddles reflecting the drama. Half the crowd left, Nina said, giggling, and the rest just stared. It was a full-on collapse. Jamie laughed, the kind that bubbles from deep in the gut, unburdened and triumphant. And then Nina added the cherry on top. Oh, and Uncle Pete tried to break it up, but he tripped, fell face first into the punch bowl. Had to be hauled out, soaked in fruit juice. Jamie nearly choked, wheezing into the phone as the vision played out. Cole clutching his busted hand, Sky gone, Pete dripping with fruit cocktail, and Dad raging in the background. It was poetic. They'd missed the party, but they'd gained something better, the vindication of choosing themselves. No way. Nina was laughing so hard she could barely breathe. Swear to God. Then Grandma wades in, full fire and brimstone, calling Cole a disgrace for shutting you out. Said the night was cursed with bad blood. Jamie's grin stretched wide, the kind that curled at the edges like smoke. Grandma, wild card, truth-teller, and chaos incarnate, dropping karma like a gavel at a family tribunal. She's not wrong, Jamie murmured, imagining the look on Cole's face as the room turned against him. Oh, and get this, Nina added. They cut the bar early after Cole tried to order shots with his busted hand. Total scene. Everyone kicked out by 11. A train wreck, spectacular and flaming, and Jamie had front row seats from 1,000 miles away, untouched by the debris. They hung up, heads spinning with the delicious absurdity of it all. Cole's grand return, his ego-stroking homecoming, had collapsed into a full-blown family circus, and Jamie hadn't lifted a finger. Then the phone buzzed again. "Mom, we're falling apart. Jamie, please help." Ignored, but the next one froze them. "I'm sorry. Okay? I didn't think it'd be this bad. Come home." From Cole. The same Cole who'd left them off the guest list without flinching, who let them be whispered about like an outsider in a coffee shop full of cousins. Now sorry? Too little. Far too late. Jamie's jaw set hard as they pulled on ski boots, each lace cinched with precision, each buckle a quiet refusal. Another run. A hearty lunch. That was the plan. But the phone buzzed again, dragging the past back like a leech. Dad's voicemail. "This is on you, Jamie. If you'd been here, Cole wouldn't have lost it. Call me." The audacity sent Jamie storming inside, slamming the phone onto the counter before grabbing a pen and scrawling a mental note in bold, emotional ink. No more fixing their mess. Outside, the slope beckoned, and Jamie answered with fire. They tore down a blue run with unrelenting force, carving through snow like it owed them answers. The wind screamed past, the cold bit into their face, but every sharp turn stripped away another layer of guilt, another accusation. At the bottom, breath ragged and lungs burning, they checked their phone one last time. Sky again. "Please, Jamie, I'm begging." Number block. Then Dad. Block. Cole. Mom. Block. 4 taps and the noise vanished, replaced by a silence that wasn't empty. It was sacred. They texted Nina. "The party sounds like a blast. I'm good here." She fired back. "You're a legend. Grandma's still ranting. Says Cole reaps what he sows." Jamie chuckled and headed to the lodge bar, ordering a burger and a beer. The place buzzed with skiers swapping stories, their laughter easy, their energy real. Jamie ate slowly, every bite of the juicy patty and every sip of the crisp IPA tasting like liberation. The bartender, a guy with snow in his beard and a knowing grin, slid over a napkin. "You look like you won something." Jamie laughed, raising their glass. "Yeah, my sanity." They tipped generously and stepped back out into the snow, the world dimming into dusk. The hot tub waited, steam curling up into the chilled air like a victory flag. Jamie sank into it, muscles loosening, spirit steady. They snapped a photo, bubbles rising, mountains glowing in the twilight, and posted it with a single line. "Turns out I didn't miss much. Cheers to dodging bullets." The likes rolled in, but Jamie barely noticed. Cole's party was ash. The family was scrambling. And Jamie? They were warm, whole, and free. Leaning back, eyes drifting to the stars above, they let the night carry the last of the past away. When Monday came, it did so gently, with snow thudding off the cabin's roof like the universe tucking them in one last time. The soak and beer had left them limber, lighter than they'd felt in years. Wrapped in a thick robe, coffee steaming in hand, they stepped onto the deck. The Rockies sprawled before them, wide and still, a beautiful barrier between their peace and the storm they'd left behind. The phone sat quiet, a mute monument to every boundary finally held. Grandma had called it bad blood, but Jamie knew better. It wasn't a curse. It was clarity, and they weren't going back. No more blame, no more guilt, just peace. That was Jamie's silent mantra as they drained the last sip of coffee, laced up their boots, and stepped into the crisp mountain morning. The blue trail felt smoother under their skis, each carve tighter, faster, freer. Like the weight of 1,000 family expectations had finally melted into powder. At the summit, breath curling in the icy air, Jamie paused to soak in the moment. Cole's party had exploded into chaos. The family was spiraling. And Jamie? Jamie was thriving. Back at the cabin, flushed and exhilarated, they peeled off their gear and impulsively opened the lodge's website. The trip was supposed to end Wednesday, but why cut peace short? A few clicks later, the stay was extended another week. More skiing, a guided backcountry tour, and extra nights at the bar. A quick email to their boss got an easy take your time, and Jamie smirked, imagining Dad's face when they didn't show up to apologize. Let him stew. First class return bumped to Sunday. The thrill of freedom pulsed deeper. Lunch was a thick steak sandwich at the bustling grill, solitude never tasting so sweet, when Nina's message popped up. Heads up, Mom's planning an intervention when you're back. Thinks you're spiraling. Jamie nearly choked laughing. Spiraling? They snapped a photo of their sandwich with snow-dusted peaks in the background and replied, "Tell her I'm too busy thriving to come back." Nina's response came instantly. "She'll flip. Good. Let her." That night, Jamie hit the bar, whiskey in hand, the guitarist strumming a slow cover of Sweet Home Alabama. Across the room, the Seattle couple from Saturday spotted them and waved. Jamie joined, welcomed like an old friend. "Family still imploding?" the guy asked with a grin. Jamie swirled their drink, eyes gleaming. "Oh yeah, Grandma's calling it divine justice. I'm calling it dodging a bullet." The woman raised her glass. "To dodging bullets." They clinked, and something inside Jamie snapped loose, the last frayed thread of guilt. These strangers, full of laughter and zero baggage, were better than any family reunion. Tuesday brought the backcountry tour, a snow-covered dream led by a guide through untouched wilderness. The world fell silent but for the crunch of skis and the rhythm of Jamie's breath. At the summit, Jamie pulled out their phone, captured the endless white horizon, and posted, "0 regrets. 100% peace." None of the blocked numbers could see it, but Nina, friends, and even Uncle Mike chimed in. "Keep rubbing it in, kid." And Jamie did. They sent one final message to Mom and Cole. "Enjoy the intervention. I'm busy dodging your mess." Then they blocked the replies for good. By Wednesday, curled up in the cabin with a fire flickering and a book in hand, Jamie felt more than rested. They felt untethered. The chaos back home, Cole's bruised ego, Dad's manipulations, Mom's tears, were fading ghosts now, dissolving with every flake of snow. They raised their mug toward the mountains, a quiet toast to the best decision they'd ever made. No apologies, no groveling, just skis, stars, and a peace they'd fought to claim. 0 regrets, all triumph.